Ola sat on her bed, staring at the stack of rejection letters she had received over the past few months. Every job she had applied for had one thing in common. They all wanted a man. She sighed, her shoulders slumping as she tossed the letters aside. Ada, her best friend and roommate, bounced into the room with her usual energy. "What's the matter, Ola? You look like you just swallowed a bitter cola." "I am tired, Ada. Every job I apply for says the same thing. We are looking for a man. I didn't go through all that trouble in school to sit here and do nothing." Ada's eyes twinkled mischievously. "You know what? I have an idea," she said as she sat down beside Ola and leaned closer. "What if you dress up like a man?" Ola blinked, confused. "What?" Ada grinned. "Think about it. If the problem is that they want a man, then just pretend to be one. Cut your hair, wear a cap, dress in a baggy clothes. No one would know." Ola hesitated, but the more she thought about it, the more it makes sense. "Do you think it will work?" Ada shrugged. "You won't know until you try. Besides, you've got nothing to lose." With Ada's help, Ola transformed herself. She cut her hair short, borrowed some oversized clothes from Ada's cousin, and practiced lowering her voices. After a few days of practice, she was ready. They spent days going from place to place, searching for jobs that didn't require a fancy degree. Finally, they found one, a driving job, for a wealthy young man named Chike. He needed someone to drive him around and handle few errands. Ola, now going by the name Olu, showed up for the interview, her heart pounding. Chike was tall, handsome, and friendly. He didn't seem to notice anything strange about her appearance. "So, Olu, you have experience in driving, right?" Chike asked, leaning back in his chair. Ola nodded her head, her deep voice a little shaky. "Yes, sir. I've been driving for years now." Chike smiled, satisfied. "Great. You can start tomorrow. I will give you a room at my house and you will stay there during the week. My fiancée visits often and the cook will take care of your meals." Ola left the interview feeling both excited and terrified. She is even owing her landlord, so finally, she won't be running away from her landlord anymore. She had gotten the job, but now she had to live in Chike's house, pretending to be a man every single day. What could possibly go wrong, she asked herself. Living at Chike's house was an adventure itself. Chike's fiancée Amaka was beautiful, but a little vain. She spent most of her time in front of the mirror or complaining about her nails. The cook, Mama Nkechi, was an older woman who loved gossiping and cooking heavy meals. The real trouble started when both women began to take an unusual interest in Olu. Amaka would find reasons to hang around whenever Ola was in the room, smiling and asking questions that made Ola sweat under her oversized cap. Mama Nkechi wasn't any better. She started making special meals for Ola or Olu, and Ola could swear she caught the older woman winking at her more than once. One afternoon, Amaka cornered Ola in the kitchen. "Olu, don't you think my hair looks beautiful today?" Ola, not knowing what to say, nodded her head awkwardly. Oh yes, it's very nice, ma." Amaka smiled, her eyes twinkling. "You're different from the other men. I know. You don't act like them. You are so sweet," Amaka said to Ola. Ola felt her heart race. She had to get out of this situation fast. I have to go, ma. Chike is waiting for me," she said as she ran away. As the days went by, things got even more complicated. Mama Nkechi made it clear that she thought Olu was the perfect man. She would bring extra food to Ola's room, commenting on how strong and manly she was. I have a daughter, you know, Mama Nkechi said one evening, winking at Ola as she served her yet another plate of pounded yam and ofe egusi. She's very beautiful, just like her mother. Maybe I can introduce you both, Mama Nkechi said to Ola. Ola nearly choked on her food. I am not looking for a relationship right now, Mama Nkechi. Mama Nkechi laughed, clearly not taking no for an answer. Oh, don't worry. You will change your mind once you set your eyes on my daughter. Between Amaka's flirtation and Mama Nkechi's matchmaking attempts, Ola's life was becoming more difficult by the day. But the worst was yet to come. Chike started noticing how often Amaka was around Olu, and he wasn't happy about it. One evening, Chike pulled Ola aside. Olu, I trust you, but Amaka has been acting strange. I hope you're not getting any funny ideas about her in your head. Ola's eyes widened in panic. No, sir. Sir, I'm just doing my job, sir. Chike nodded, but his eyes were filled with suspicion. Ola knew she had to be extra careful. One slip up and her entire disguise would fall apart. The next morning, Ola was already sweating under her cap before Chike even got into the car. It had been few weeks since she started working for him, and each day brought its own set of challenges. Today, though, Chike had a meeting at a place Ola had never heard of before. You know where that is, right, Olu? Chike asked as he got into the passenger seat, flipping through some papers. Ola swallowed hard, but nodded confidently. Of course, boss. I know the place very well. In truth, she had no idea where that place was, though. She thought about asking him for directions, but her pride got the better of her. You can't let them think you don't know, she thought to herself. So she whipped out her phone and opened Google Maps, praying it would guide her to the place. Everything seemed fine at first. Ola was driving calmly, nodding along the direction coming from the phone. In 200 meters, turn left, the voice instructed. Ola followed, but after a while, the road started looking a bit strange, narrower, quieter, with few cars passing by. She glanced at Chike, who was engrossed in his papers, and her heart raced. What kind of place is this one again, Biko? Where is this car taking me to? She thought to herself. Turn right in 100 meters, Google Maps said again. Ola obediently turned right and suddenly found herself driving through a large iron gate. She glanced around, noticing how airy quiet it was. There were no other cars, no building, just a long driveway leading to a large white building. Chike finally looked up from his papers, frowning. Olu, where are we? Ola glanced at him nervously. We are almost there, sir. Don't worry. But Chike's frown deepened as he looked out the window. Why does this place look so empty? And why are there crosses on the walls? Ola blinked. Crosses? She looked up and nearly slammed on the brakes when she saw it. Mortuary, written boldly on the sign right in front of the building. Olu, this is a mortuary, Chike's voice cracked with disbelief. Ola's face went pale. Eh? Mortuary? She scrambled for her phone, staring at the map as if it had betrayed her. Ah! This Google map has led us astray, oh! Ola shouted. Chike's eyes widened. So you mean you didn't even know where you are taking me to? Before she could respond, a man dressed in a white clothes, who was obviously a mortuary worker, started approaching the car, waving at them. "Hello, are you here to see someone?" Ola shrieked, "No, nobody is dying here today. I made a wrong turn, I beg." Chike buried his face in his hands, laughing and groaning at the same time. "A mortuary, Olu? Of all places, you brought me to a mortuary." They quickly reversed out of the compound, both of them laughing so hard that Chike's stomach hurt so bad. When they finally got back to the road, Chike shook his head, still chuckling. "Next time, Olu, just admit you don't know where you are going. I'd rather you ask for directions than drive me to where they keep dead people." Ola laughed nervously, trying to play it off. But inside, she was shaking. That had been way too close for comfort. The next day wasn't any better. Chike had asked Ola to drive him to a nearby neighborhood for a quick meeting. And as usual, Ola confidently agreed, even though she had no clue where it was. This time though, instead of using Google Maps, she tried to winch in, thinking, how hard can it be to find? Well, very hard apparently. They were driving through a busy part of the village when suddenly the car started squittering. Ola glanced at the dashboard, her heart sinking. The fuel gauge was blinking empty. "Olu, what's going on?" Chike asked, glancing at her suspiciously. "Ah, nothing, boss," Ola said quickly, trying to keep her voice calm. "Just a small issue. I will fix it." She managed to pull over, and as soon as they stopped, the car gave a final squealing and died. Chike groaned, rubbing his temples. "Olu, you didn't put fuel in this car, did you?" Ola tried to laugh it off. "Oh, it's nothing major. We can get small fuel quickly and we'll be back on the road in no time, sir." But just as she said that, a group of rough-looking men started approaching. They were dressed in a shabby clothes and didn't look too friendly. Chike's eyes widened. Olu, who are these guys?" Ola glanced out of the window, her heart pounded. "Ah, it's nothing, boss. Just some locals." One of the men tapped at the window. "Hey, Oga driver, you broke down, abi? You go need help?" Before Ola could respond, another man chimed in. "We fit help you push, but you go give us small something, you know." Ola gulped, knowing exactly what small something meant. She tried to smile. "Ah, don't worry. We are fine. We'll get it started immediately." But the men didn't leave. Instead, they started crowding around the car, tapping the windows and muttering to each other. Chike, now fully panicking, whispered, "Olu, what are we going to do? These guys don't look like they are just offering help." Ola, still trying to keep her cool, opened the door slightly and stepped out. "Ah, bros, please, we don't want any trouble. The car just broke down," Ola said to them. One of the men grinned, revealing a set of missing teeth. "No wahala, Oga driver, just give us small something, give us small cash, and we'll go leave you in peace." Ola's hand shook as she reached out for her pocket, pulling out a crumpled note and handing it to the man. "This is all I have, bros. Please take it and leave us in peace." The man took the money, nodded, and motioned to the others. "Oya, make we comot for here," he said as they walked away. Chike slumped back into the seat, wiping the sweat from his forehead. "Olu, you have driven me to a mortuary just yesterday. Almost got us mocked now, and now we are stranded without fuel. If you weren't such a terrible driver, I might think you were trying to kill me," he said, laughing. Ola couldn't help but laugh too. "Sorry, boss. I will do better next time. It will not repeat itself again. But even as they laughed, she couldn't shake the feeling that her days of pretending to be a man were going to catch up with her very soon. The days following the mortuary incident were oddly quiet. Chike seemed more stressed than usual, and Ola couldn't help but notice how tense things were between him and Amaka. She had always seen glimpses of their strained relationship, but now it was becoming harder to ignore. One evening, after a particular long day of running errands, Chike sat in the living room, looking exhausted. Amaka hadn't been home all day. Ola, dressed in her manly disguise, sat across from Chike, pretending to be absorbed in a magazine. The front door suddenly swung open and Amaka stumbled in, clearly drunk. Her hair was disfigured and she reeked of alcohol. Chike's face darkened as he stood up. "Amaka, where have you been?" he asked, his voice a mixture of frustration and concern. Amaka waved him off, slurring her words. "Don't start with your questioning, Chike. I just went out with some friends. Why are you always trying to control me?" "I am not controlling you. But you have been out there drinking for hours. This isn't the first time, Amaka. We have to talk about this," Chike said. Amaka rolled her eyes and staggered towards the kitchen. Talk. That's all you ever do. I need a drink." Chike groaned, running his hands through his head. He looked over to Ola, who was trying her best to stay invisible. "Olu, can you believe this? She's out there drinking every night and coming home drunk. All she does is nag me. I don't even remember the last time we had a normal conversation." Ola blinked, unsure of how to respond to the complaint. "Oh, sorry boss. That sounds tough." Chike sighed and sat back, burying his face in his hands. "She wasn't always like this, you know. When we first started dating, she was different. But now, I don't even know who she is anymore." Ola nodded sympathetically, though inside she was panicking. Me, I cannot get involved in this relationship matter," she thought to herself. But there was no escaping it. Chike had already started confiding in her more and more, as if she was his closest friend. And the fact that he still thought she was a man only made things more awkward for her. As the day went by, Chike's relationship with Amaka continued to deteriorate. Amaka would come home late, sometimes with lipstick smoke on her cheek, or the faint smell of another man's cologne lingering on her clothes. Chike didn't say much, but it was clear he was hurting. He started spending more time with Olu, talking about his problems, asking for advice from Olu. "Olu, what do you think I should do?" Chike asked one night, as they sat on the patch of his backyard. "I can't keep living like this. I love her, but this is tearing me apart." Ola swallowed hard, not knowing what to say. "Boss, I don't know. Relationships are hard. Maybe you should just talk to her." Chike laughed bitterly. "Talk to her? She doesn't even listen. I feel like I'm talking to a wall half the time." Ola bit her lip, unsure of how much long she could keep up this charade. Chike was treating her like a trusted friend, and it made her feel guilty. At the same time, the longer she stayed disguised, the more complicated things became, especially with Amaka. Ever since their encounter in the kitchen, Amaka's behavior towards Olu had gotten more intense. She would brush up against her when passing by, making comments about how handsome Olu was, and even started sitting closer during meals. One afternoon, Amaka found Ola alone in the living room. Chike had gone out to run some errands and Mama Nkechi was in the kitchen. Amaka sat down next to Ola, much too close for comfort. "Olu, can I ask you something?" she said, her voice soft and sweet, a far cry from the drunken, nagging tone she usually had with Chike. Ola cleared her throat nervously. Sure." Amaka leaned in, her perfume almost overwhelming. "Why don't you have a girlfriend?" Ola's heart skipped a beat. "Girlfriend? Well, I am focused on my work right now." Amaka smiled slyly, her hand resting on Ola's knee. "You know, you don't have to be alone. I think you are different from other men. You are kind, considerate, and you don't treat me the way Chike does." Ola's mind raced. "This woman wants to finish me," she thought to herself, glancing around the room, hoping someone would walk in and save her. Amaka, I think you should talk to Chike about that." Ola stammered, trying to stand up, but Amaka grabbed her arm. "Why should I talk to him? He doesn't understand me the way you do, Olu." Ola yanked her arm free, her heart pounding. I need to go and check on the cars," she mumbled, practically running out of the room. Once she was safely outside, she leaned against the car, trying to catch her breath. "This woman is serious, oh. She's trying to tempt me. This woman will put me into temptation, oh. My village people will not allow me to succeed in this city," Ola thought to herself. One evening, Chike and Ola were sitting in the living room, the air heavy with silence. Chike had just come back from a heated argument with Amaka, who had once again returned home late and drunk. This time, she had thrown an empty bottle at the wall and stormed off the bedroom, slamming the door behind her. Chike sighed deeply, his eyes filled with exhaustion. "Olu, I am done. I can't keep doing this. Every time I try to talk to her, it turns into a fight. I am starting to feel like we are just two strangers living in the same house." Ola nodded sympathetically, though inside she was still wondering, trying to recover from the last awkward encounter with Amaka. "It's tough, boss, but maybe if you both sit down and..." Chike interrupted, shaking his head. "No talking. Talking doesn't work. She doesn't care about what I'm saying. She's always out drinking with God knows who. I am starting to think she's seeing someone else." Ola's eyes widened. "Seeing someone else, boss? Do you really think she's seeing someone else?" "I don't know," Chike said, "but I wouldn't be surprised. She's never home. And when she is, she's either drunk or picking fights. I can't keep living like this. This is not life," Chike said. Just then, the door to the bedroom opened and Amaka walked in, still looking scattered from the argument. She shot a glance at Chike but didn't say a word. Instead, she turned her attention to Ola, who was now sitting up straight, hoping to avoid any more uncomfortable situation. "Olu," Amaka said sweetly, her voice far too calm given the circumstances. "Do you want something to eat? I was thinking of making some dinner." Chike looked up in disbelief. "You haven't cooked in months, but now you want to cook for him?" Amaka ignored him, her eyes still fixed on Ola. "What do you say, Olu? You must be hungry after a very long day." Ola's throat went dry. No, I'm fine, thank you, ma. I'm fine." Amaka smiled, clearly not taking no for an answer. She went over to where Ola was sitting and leaned in close. "Are you sure? I could make something special just for you." Ola jumped to her feet, her heart pounded. No, really, I'm fine. I already ate," she blurted out, backing away. Chike groaned. Amaka, stop embarrassing me. What are you doing? Why are you always acting like a crazy lady? Amaka turned to him, her expression suddenly cold. Oh, now you care what I'm doing. Where was all this concern when I was begging you to spend time with me instead of always working? I was working for us, Amaka, to build a future. But look at you now, you are out every night drinking, coming home drunk and flirting with my driver. This is not the woman I fell in love with. Ola froze, caught between the two of them, feeling like a referee in a match she wanted no part of. Ah, please don't drag me into this, she thought to herself. You people should know, my village people, you people are always following me around. What is this one now? She said. Amaka folded her arms, glaring at Chike. Maybe if you paid more attention to me, I wouldn't have gone out. Maybe I wouldn't need to find someone else to talk to. Chike stood up, his eyes blazing. Someone else? Are you admitting it now that you are seeing someone else? Amaka smirked. But before she could say anything else, Chike turned to Ola. Olu, let's go. I need to get out of here. Let's take a drive. Ola hesitated, glancing at Amaka, who was now smirking in a way that made her very nervous. But Chike was already grabbing his keys, storming towards the door. Once they were in the car, Chike leaned back in his seat, exhaled loudly. I am sorry you have to see that. She's been like this for months and I don't even recognize her anymore. Ola glanced at him, feeling a pang of guilt. Here was the man confiding in her, while his fiancée was trying to make moves on her. The whole situation was becoming too complicated. But just as she was about to offer some words of comfort, Chike spoke again. I don't even know if I want to marry her anymore, Olu. I mean, she's beautiful and when we first met, everything was perfect. But now, it's like I'm living with a stranger. Ola didn't know what to say. Maybe things will get better, sir, she offered weakly. Chike shook his head. I don't know. I just feel so lonely. You are the only person I can talk about things to. Ola's heart sank. She felt terrible for him, but at the same time she couldn't help but feel the weight of her own secret pressing down on her. How much longer could she keep up with this? As they drove in silence, a small voice in her head whispered, You are in a deep problem, Ola. Very deep wahala. The following morning, Amaka packed up all her belongings, stamping around the house with her suitcase in hand. She banged on Chike's door, waking him up abruptly. Chike, I am leaving, she shouted, her voice dripping with bitterness. I am done. Chike woke up from his sleep, opened the door, and blinked at her. What do you mean you are leaving? Amaka crossed her arms. Chike, I said I am done. This is not working. This relationship is no longer working. I am tired of you, tired of this house, and I am tired of that your fake useless drivers. Chike pretended to look hot, sighing dramatically. Amaka, come on. Don't go. Let's talk about this. Amaka scoffed, throwing her hands in the air. There is nothing left to talk about. You don't care about me. You never did. Goodbye, Chike. With that, she stormed out of the house, slamming the door behind her. As soon as the door clicked shut, Chike stood there in silence for a few seconds. Then something unexpected happened. A slow grin spread across his face. He walked down to the living room, glanced around to make sure that Amaka had truly gone, then burst into laughter. Not just a chuckle, but a full-on belly-hurting, can't breathe kind of laughter. He dropped onto the couch, holding his stomach as tears of relief streamed down his face. Ola peeking from the hallway, cautiously entering the living room. "Boss, are you okay?" Chike wiped his eyes, still laughing. "Olu, you have no idea. I thought she would never leave. Oh my days." He threw his hands up, his voice light with relief. "Finally, I am free. I am free. I am a free man. That woman was actually driving me crazy." Ola blinked, completely caught off guard. You are happy, boss? You are happy she left?" Chike laughed again, nodding. "Happy? Olu, I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders. That woman was always nagging, always drunk, always making life a living hell for me. I thought I would miss her. But honestly, this feels amazing for me." Ola couldn't help but laugh too, though part of her still felt guilty. "Boss, you're not even a little sad?" Chike shook his head, chuckling. "Sad? Not even a bit. In fact, I am celebrating, Olu. Today, we are going to have the best day ever. No more Amaka, no more drama, just peace and quiet." He leaned back to the couch, looking up at the ceiling with a grin. "Ah, Olu, you are the only one who understands me. I don't know what I would have done without you." Ola smiled awkwardly, feeling a strange mix of emotions. On one hand, she was relieved that Amaka was gone. On the other hand, she wasn't sure how long she could keep up this charade. But for now, she was just glad the tension had finally broken. That woman nearly made life unbearable for her. It's a good thing that she has left. Now he can breathe in a little and face only Mama Nkechi. After Amaka left, Chike's mood shifted for the better. He became more relaxed, cheerful, and surprisingly close to Olu. He started confiding in Ola about everything, his personal life, business dealings, and even his dreams for the future. "Olu, it's hard to trust people in my line of work," Chike would say, sitting on the couch with a drink in his hand. "But with you, it feels different. You are more than just a driver to me. You are like a brother I never had." Ola smiled awkwardly every time Chike said something like that. It was both flattering and terrifying. Each day, the line between her disguise and reality blurred a little more. One day, Chike came to her with a serious look on his face. "Olu, I need you to come with me to close a very important business deal tomorrow. It's huge, and I need someone I can trust by my side." Ola nodded her head, though inside, her nerves were already dancing. "Of course, boss. I will be there." Chike grinned and clapped her on the shoulder. "Good man. I am buying you a suit and some proper shoes. You have got to look sharp." The next day, Ola stood in front of the mirror in the suit Chike had bought. The outfit fit her very well enough, but she couldn't help but feel a little out of place. The shoes were stiff, the collar too tight, and she had to keep reminding herself not to fidget. She felt like a child playing dress up. "You clean up well, Olu," Chike said with a grin on his face as they stepped out of the house. "You almost look better than me," Chike said as he laughed. Ola laughed too. "I am just trying to keep up with you, boss," she said. They drove to the venue of the business meeting, a fancy hotel where the deal was to be finalized. The moment they arrived, Ola's stomach began to churn. Something about the place felt off. She brushed the feeling aside and focused on staying in character. Chike, ever the charmer, introduced himself to the company's head, shaking hands and making small talk. Ola stood quietly by his side, trying to look as professional as possible. Everything seemed to be going smoothly until they entered the meeting room. That's where everything changed. Sitting at the far end of the table was a man Ola never expected to see again. Uche, her ex-boyfriend from university days. He was a smooth talker, a sly businessman, and most importantly, the one person who might just see through her disguise. For a moment, their eyes locked, and Ola felt a cold sweat break out on her forehead. She quickly averted his gaze, hoping Uche wouldn't recognize her. But she wasn't lucky that day. Uche's eyes widened in recognition, and a slow, knowing smile crept onto his face. Well, 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 he said, his voice dripping with amusement. If it isn't all... Ola laughed loudly, cutting him off. Chike turned, giving her a confused look, but Uche continued to smirk. Olu, huh? Interesting name. You look familiar. Have we met before? Ola's heart pounded in her chest. No, I don't think so, she replied, keeping her voice low and trying to sound as gruff as possible. But Uche wasn't buying it. He leaned back in his chair, eyes glinting with mischief. You sure about that? You remind me of someone I knew back in university. A girl, actually. What was that her name again? Ola! Ola was her name. Chike raised an eyebrow, looking between the two of them. What's going on here? Do you know each other? Ola could feel the walls closing in. She tried to laugh it off. No, boss. He's mistaken. I have never seen this guy in my life. Uche's grin widened. Really? Because I am pretty sure I dated an Ola who looked a lot like you. Same eyes, same smile, same face. Chike's eyes narrowed as he looked at Ola. Olu, is there something you are not telling me? What is going on? Ola felt trapped. She could see Uche enjoying every second of her discomfort, but she couldn't let him ruin everything. Boss, I swear, I don't know this man. He's just trying to mess with me. Uche leaned forward, resting his chin on his hand. I don't know, Chike. I would take a closer look at your driver if I were you. He stopped himself, correcting with his sly smile. I mean, he seemed to have a lot of secrets. Chike's face hardened. What's he talking about, Olu? Ola's mind raced. She had to think fast, or the entire charade would be over. Boss, he's just messing with me because we are his competitors. He wants to throw us out. Please don't listen to him. But Uche wasn't done. Oh, come on, Olu. We were so close back in the day, remember? Or should I tell everyone how good you were at hiding things back then in school too? Ola's palms were sweating. She could see Chike's suspicion growing with every word Uche spoke. She needed to get out of there before everything falls apart. Suddenly, Chike stood up, glaring at Uche. You know what? I don't have time for your games. If this is how you people conduct business, then I'm no longer interested in this deal. Uche laughed, but there was an edge of anger in his voice. Suit yourself, but don't say I didn't warn you. Chike turned to Ola. Let's go, Olu. Chike stormed out of the conference room, his face red with anger and embarrassment. As they reached the car, he turned to Ola, his voice shaking with frustration. Why didn't you tell me, Olu? Or Whatever your name is, I don't care, Chike yelled, glaring at her. I trusted you. I let you into my home, into my life, and you lied to me this whole time. And because of you, I lost a deal worth billions to that snake, Uche. Ola stood there, tears welling up in her eyes. She didn't know what to say. Her secret was out and Chike was furious. She felt like her world was collapsing around her. She was sweating all over. Boss, I am sorry, she whispered, her voice breaking. I never wanted to deceive you. I had no choice. Chike snatched the car keys from her hand and pointed angrily at her. Get out of my sight! I don't want to set my eyes on you again. Without another word, he got into his car and sped off, leaving Ola standing there in the parking lot, feeling utterly alone, her chest tightening as she watched the car disappear in the distance. For a moment, she stood frozen, unsure of what to do next. Her mind raced with guilt and fear. But then, something inside her stirred, a spark of determination. She couldn't let Uche win like this again. She couldn't let Chike lose everything because of her. Wiping away her tears, she took a deep breath and marched back into the conference room. Uche was still there, leaning back in his chair while they were trying to sign the deal with the company head. The moment he saw Ola walked in, he smiled. Well. If it isn't our dear Olu back again, what's the matter? Miss your ride? He said to her. Ola ignored him and turned to the executive seated around the table. Her voice was firm, unwavering. I have something to say, she said firmly. The room felt silence as all eyes turned to her. Uche raised an eyebrow, but she pushed through her fear and began to speak. I know I deceived you all. I disguised myself as a man to get this job because as a woman, no one will give me a chance without expecting something in return, she said, her voice growing stronger with every word. But Chike is a good man. He's honest, hardworking, and he would never betray your trust. I disguised myself, but he didn't know. He shouldn't be punished for my mistake. The executive looked at each other, surprised by her boldness, which a smug expression started to falter. You can't seriously be listening to this, Uche scoffed, trying to maintain his composure. She's just trying to cover for Chike's incompetence. If he can't even figure out his own driver's identity, how can he handle millions of naira in business? Ola continued, her voice filled with emotions as she ignored Uche. I left you, Uche, because of the kind of person you are. Dishonest, selfish, and only out for your own gain. If these men here trust you with their money, I can guarantee you would bleed them dry. Uche's face turned pale as the weight of her words hit him. The executive exchanged looks, suddenly wary of the man sitting before them. Ola looked directly at the company's head, her eyes pleading. Chike might have been tricked by me, but that's because he believed in people. He gives them chances and he trusts them. Don't make the mistake of trusting someone like Uche instead. Chike will be sincere with your money. He is the kind of person who won't sleep until the job is done right. With that, she turned and walked out of the room, her heart racing. The silence behind her was deafening. And for the first time in her life, she didn't care about the consequences. She had spoken her truth, and whatever happens next, she knew she had done the right thing. As she stepped outside, Ola's leg felt weak and she leaned against the wall, trying to catch her breath. She had no idea what the outcome would be, but she hoped, no, she prayed that Chike would get a second chance, that her mistake wouldn't cost him everything. Moments later, she heard the door to the conference room open. One of the executives stepped out, his expression unreadable. Ola, or should I say Olu, he said with a slight smile on his face. What you did in there took a lot of courage. We will be reconsidering our decision. But just so you know, Chike is lucky to have someone like you fighting in his corner. Ola's eyes filled with tears of relief as she nodded, unable to find the words to respond. She had done it. Now, all she had to do was face Chike again, if he would ever want to see her. Ola had been lying on the small bed, her face buried in a pillow, soaked with tears. Ada sat beside her, gently stroking her back, trying to offer some comfort. Ola, it's not the end of the world. I am sure Chike will come around. He just needs some time. But Ola shook her head, sniffing. He told me never to show my face around him again. Ada, I have ruined everything. I wanted to tell him the truth so badly. I wanted to tell him the truth. But that devil Uche ruined everything for me. I should have known this would all end the same way it started. My village people, they have located me again. They have found me again. What is all this? Why are they following me around? What did I do? Ada sighed and gave her friend a tight hug. You couldn't have predicted things. Uche showing up was a horrible coincidence, but Chike, I think he will understand eventually. Meanwhile, Chike was pacing around in his living room, his thoughts completely consumed by Ola. He was furious that she had lied to him, furious that he had been made a fool of in front of everyone. But more than that, he couldn't stop thinking about her, the way she had always made him laugh, how she listened to him when no one else seemed to care, how she had been there for him when he felt alone. No one had ever understood him the way she did. Why does he have to be this complicated? He muttered to himself. Just then, his phone rang. He picked it up without thinking, still lost in his thoughts. Hello, Chike. It was one of the executives from the company. I wanted to let you know that we have reconsidered and we are awarding the contract to you. Chike's eyes widened in shock. What? But I thought you people already chose Uche. We had a change of heart, thanks to your driver, Olu, or rather, Ola. She came back and spoke for you. Brave girl. She convinced us that you are the right man for the job. You owe her, Chike. The phone nearly slipped from Chike's hand. Ola did what? After everything, she believed in you, Chike. Don't let her down. The call ended, but Chike stood frozen, his mind racing. Ola had gone back in and fought for him, even after he had yelled at her and even after everything fell apart. A small smile tugged at his lips as memories of her began to flood his mind. Her goofy jokes, her warmth, the way she had always made him feel like he wasn't alone. He missed her terribly. Without thinking, he grabbed his car keys and headed for the door. Back in the one-room apartment, Ola and Ada were sitting quietly, both lost in their thoughts, when suddenly there was a loud knock on the door. They exchanged worried glances. Is that the landlord? Ada whispered, eyes wide. We haven't paid him this month, remember? Ola sat up straight, her heart pounding in her chest. Oh no, if it's him, we are finished though. We don't have the rent money. What is all this that is following me around? What kind of problem is all this? Ola lamented as she put her hands on her head. The knocking came again, louder this time. They froze, whispering in hushed tones, wondering if they should pretend they weren't home. After much back and forth, Ada sighed and slowly tiptoed to the door. Let's just open it, she whispered. Maybe we can beg for more time. When she finally opened the door, both Ada and Ola gasped in shock. It wasn't the landlord standing there. It was Chike. Ola, Chike said softly, his eyes looking into hers. Ola stood up from the bed, her heart hammering in her chest. She couldn't believe her eyes. She never thought she would see Chike again, let alone in her doorstep. Chike, she whispered, her voice barely audible. How did you find my house? Ada, sensing the tension in the room, quietly excused herself, mumbling something about needing fresh air as she slipped outside. Chike stepped into the room, closing the door gently behind him. Why didn't you tell me, Ola? He said, his voice calm but filled with emotion. Why didn't you just tell me the truth? Ola swallowed hard, her throat tight. I wanted to, Chike. I swear I did. But it was too hard. No one would hire me as a woman. And when I saw the opportunity, I didn't think it would go this far. I am sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. Please, I'm sorry. Chike sighed and ran a hand through his head, pacing slightly before stopping in front of her. You should have trusted me, Ola. I am angry that you lied, but more than that, I am hurt. You are the only person I trusted, the one person who made me feel like I wasn't alone. And then you just... I am sorry, Chike. She cut in, her voice crackling. I never wanted to deceive you. I didn't know what else to do. There was a long pause as Chike looked at her, his anger slowly melting away. You fought for me, didn't you? He said quietly. After everything, you still went back and fought for me. Ola nodded her head, tears welling up in her eyes again. I couldn't let you lose that contract because of me. You deserve it, Chike. You're a good man. Chike took a deep breath and then, to her surprise, he smiled. A genuine, warm smile. You know, you are the only person who's ever made me laugh like an idiot. Ola blinked, surprised by his sudden change in tone. What? Chike chuckled, shaking his head. I have been thinking about it for days. You are the only one who's ever really made me happy. I was angry at first, but honestly, I just missed you. I missed you so much. Ola's heart fluttered in her chest, and for the first time in days, she smiled through her tears. I missed you too, Chike, so much. They stood there, the tension finally lifting, as they realized that despite everything, they still have each other. Chike smiled. So, Ola, will you still be my driver? Ola, still a bit shocked from everything that had happened, blinked at him in confusion. Wait, you still want to hire me as your driver after all the drama? Nodding his head. Yes, but there is a catch. Her brow furrowed. What catch? She asked him. Chike stepped closer, his voice soft but teasing. I want you to be my driver, but this time around, I don't want you to just drive me to meetings or appointments. I want you to drive my heart crazy. Ola's eyes widened as his words sank in, and before she could stop herself, she burst out laughing. Chike, that has to be the cheesiest thing I've ever had, she managed to say through her fit of giggles. Drive your heart crazy? Really? Chike laughed along with her, enjoying the sound of her laughter that he had missed so much. But as she calmed down, her laughter fading into a soft chuckle, he gently took her hand. "Hola," he said softly, his tone growing serious. "I mean it. You make me happy and I don't want to ever lose that again." Before she could respond, Chike leaned in and planted a long, tender kiss on her lips. Ola's eyes fluttered shut as she melted into the kiss, her heart pounding in her chest. All the confusion, all the tension from the past days seemed to disappear in that moment. When they finally pulled apart, Ola was breathless, her cheeks flushed. She stared up at Chike, trying to process what had just happened. "Does this mean I am hired?" she asked with a teasing smile. Chike chuckled, resting his forehead against hers. "Not only are you hired, but I think we are about to start a new journey together." Ola's heart swelled with warmth and excitement as she realized that, despite everything, something beautiful had come out of all this chaos.